Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, I'm Rob. Let's get to the show.
Let's get to the show.
Let's go!
Yeah!
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
We're showing our age. Anybody like 25 and younger is like, who? What's going on here? It's a little John guy. It's okay. Get crunked up. We got another episode here giving you guys all the latest news on the New York Football Giants here. Just been 2 days since we last joined you guys, and already there's a whole slew of information here. And, you know, we got to start off the show with a happy birthday here because
happy birthday.
Yes, it's officially the El Capitan, Joe Shane himself, his birthday yesterday. So definitely happy birthday, Joe Shane, who's now 44 years old. It's sad that I'm closer to the age of our GM than the players now at this point in my life.
Yeah, sadly. I think I'm closer to, Graham Gano's age.
Graham Gano's age. I'm closer to Tom Brady's age.
Yeah.
Think about it. Tom Brady's actually older than Joe Shane.
Yeah, he is.
That's kind of scary here. Anyway, before we get depressed by talking about our ages and muscle aches and joint aches and all the things.
Bringing Tom Brady back into the show.
Oh, yes. Well, he's got a better chance of bringing him back than bringing Giselle back to him. Oh.
Apparently, from what I heard, non-Giant rumors, he's dating Kim Kardashian.
That's a lot of rumors I've heard on that, but I've heard a lot of rumors in general between him and pretty much any girl that he's ever near.
Well, I mean, it would fit the bill. Yeah. Rich, successful woman that makes more money than he did.
She does.
He's got a type.
She does fit that bill. All righty. Anyway, off the Kardashian news. That's one family I thought we'd never talk about in the show, and there goes that streak. We broke the streak.
I need to go take a shower.
But yeah, so the big news came out yesterday that Jarrad Davis had knee surgery and is expected to be out long term. What's interesting about it is we don't know even what type of injury he had, what type of knee surgery he had. There's been a lot of tight-lippedness going on here. In fact, it seems like it was actually just leaked somehow to the press as opposed to the Giants releasing information on it. Yeah,
because, I mean, you think they'll come out and be like, oh, well, it's not as crazy as you think. It's just this, and it'll be out for this part of the time. But if you're talking long term, you got to think probably like some kind of ligament.
Yeah, and you got to wonder when they mean long term, how long term at that point. I mean, they're talking like he'll be back for the season, which is still a couple months away. So that is a long term absence at that point. Or are we talking like he's going to be halfway through the season? He's going to be potentially gone the whole season? We have not.
I think it half to most, if not all.
We'll see. I mean, I don't take anything by that because long term can mean anything. Like I said, it could be a couple months. So we'll have to see what they say long term, what that means. Obviously in the meantime, that takes one of the three people out that was vying for that second linebacker position. And he very well might have had the upper hand right now. As I know, you're doing the hashtag sign there. Hashtag Save Our Beavers. Of course, Darian Beavers is still in the mix there. You can also throw Micah McFadden, obviously, in the mix as well. One of the young guns is probably going to get that second linebacker position there, unless long-term is much shorter than we're thinking long-term means. Again, the Giants haven't released anything, probably because of the fact that they don't have to release a damn thing yet. And keep in mind, we want all the information, but keep in mind, these are still employer kind of reactions. So this is still HIPAA and all those kind of things where they're not allowed to release things unless they are forced to.
Correct. When I hear long term like that, it tells me that he's going to be out all of preseason. So like I won't expect him to see him in there, and it's going to take into the regular season.
I would think so
Because
by the
because if you hear long term, oh my God, he's going to miss 2 weeks of preseason. Whoop-de-doo, who cares? He's back for the season.
Yeah, you wouldn't say it that way typically, but like I said, being as ambiguous as this whole situation is, to use a Scrabble term there, who knows? Who knows what's
28 points.
going on? I mean, so we'll have to see. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Like I said, you got obviously Beavers, McFadden, those guys could step in. If it's extremely long term, we might, you might see the Giants even look at outside options. There's still a decent amount of free agent linebackers out there with legit starting experience. That's the crazy part about this whole situation. We talked about all the linebackers were available in free agency. There's still linebackers available in free agency. The NFL, basically, linebackers have become the running backs of the defense, where nobody cares about them, nobody wants to pay them. That's what it is. Let's call it what it is. So still available is Deion Jones, who I know a lot of Giant fans have clamored for. 29 years old, longtime Falcon, played with the Browns last season. Last season at 11 games, he played in 5 starts, 44 tackles, 1 interception. Had, though, 100 tackles in 5 of his 6 prior seasons, except 2018 when he played 5 games. I think he's still in those 5 games had like 45 tackles. That's pretty good. 5 games.
Pretty much on pace for over 100 tackles.
Yeah, so that's one of the ones Giant fans are clamoring for. Me personally, I'm clamoring for Miles Jack. I think that's who is the best bet if we're going to go outside, because I don't think I look at Deion Jones last year and I go, okay, yeah, he was great up until last year, but he couldn't get on the field enough with the Browns. So now I'm a little curious.
Yeah.
Has he lost? Has something happened?
Not like the Browns defense was all that impressive.
Exactly. Miles Jack, though, 28 years old, played for Pittsburgh Steelers last season. The Jags before that had 15 games, 13 starts, had 104 tackles overall in the season. So this is a guy that, had some playing time, legit playing time last season. On top of that, he's got a pedigree of being a good coverage linebacker. This is a passing league now. So when you get a guy who can cover, especially in a Wings defense there, it comes in handy. The other guy who also would come in handy in Wings defense is Mr. Kyle Van Noy, is also still available. 32 years old, so obviously getting a little more up there, but we're looking for a bridge player. We're not looking for a guy who'll be a long-term answer.
Turn the place for a year and let's go.
Exactly. So he played with the Chargers last season. Obviously, before that, a former Dolphin, former Patriot, former Lion. Most Giant fans are familiar with him just because he was a big name during some of the championships with the Patriots. And obviously signed a massive deal with the Dolphins a couple of years ago. 17 games last season, 13 starts, 46 tackles. Not a lot of tackles there from that position, but he did have also 5 sacks. Intriguing in Wings defense again. So the last name I'll mention is the one I'd be more upset about than anything else if we signed. Zach Cunningham, 29 years old, former Titan. Last year had 6 games, 6 starts, 24 tackles, but had over 100 tackles from 2018 to 2020. So again, he's got some history, he's got some pedigree there. But we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens overall. But I don't. I think that the big issue that we need to look at is what is long term, and that's what we don't know.
Yeah. So if he's only missing 3 to 5 games, do you want to pay something like that? Do you stick it with? You stick it with 5 games.
I'm not doing it because at that point I have the opportunity
to get these young guys in.
And look at the situation as far as see with the young guys, like you said, what they can do, and kind of take it from there. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Like I said, it's too much conjecture right now until we know better, what's going on overall there for it. So we do get a comment here I want to touch base on that Beef gave us here, because that's actually the next topic for us to go over here. So she says, you should be talking more about if we lose the offensive coordinator to Northwestern. So For those who are unaware of what's going on in Northwestern, they fired their head coach just 2 days ago, I believe, or so. And
Yeah.
they're looking at people as possible replacements. Obviously, they got to find a replacement pretty quick here. Mike Kafka is one of the people that is considered a possible candidate for that job, mainly because of the fact that he's an alumni from that school there. Plus the fact that he also has been doing some interviewing this past offseason with Carolina, Indianapolis, and Arizona for a head coaching job there. So obviously he's looking to move up. So I think there's a few questions you got to ask in this scenario. One, does he consider a head coaching job in college a move up if he's looking to be a head coach in the NFL? But I'm saying that's part of it. It's part of that equation. The second thing you have to do is, would he even consider taking a job like that this close to the start of the season? Because that'd be looked bad upon in some NFL circles, I think.
And also, even in selfish terms, you're not giving yourself that much time to get stuff adapted to the whole new scenario.
But also, Northwestern has a horrible offense. It has for quite some time there, and that's part of why people are looking on there. But, I don't think that Mike Kafka, who has, been a coach in the NFL now for some years, would go, you know what? I want to step into college football randomly right before the season starts. I just don't see that as something that he would do, because like you said, he'd be setting himself up for failure. He did 1 year as a graduate assistant back in 2016 at Northwestern, obviously. But since then, Chiefs, Giants, that's it. He has no history with that. You can't sit there and say necessarily, too, that he's a big enough name to draw, great talent to Northwestern that wouldn't otherwise look either. I think personally, and obviously you could say I'm biased here as a Giants fan, I don't think he looks at the position. I think if this was at the beginning of this, the off season, and they wanted to talk to him, I think he'd talk to them. I don't think this late in the off season he's looking at this. I really don't. And obviously, again, I have no inside knowledge. It's not like I know Kafka on a personal level, but he's not an idiot.
No, and like you said, he pretty much, as soon as he came to the NFL, he never looked back. He did great with the Chiefs, obviously. Yep. He looked pretty damn good as a coordinator last year.
Yep.
Taking some lackluster talent, him and Dable, and making Giants offense pretty good for what it was worth.
Yeah.
Now do you want to sit there and take everything that you try to change after all that year's worth you put into last year, do the different changes with the players that you're going to have, and just throw it away because you're old school that has no really big draw to go there because it's a terrible offense?
Oh, yeah.
You really want to go there and make yourself look bad?
Yeah. Not have a chance again, potentially. Well, sometimes it's one and done. It's all you get. Anthony Big Blue Ant Seal says, if the Giants make another run to the playoffs, it's almost inevitable that he will be offered a head coaching job in the NFL. And I'm with you on that. Honestly, I'm kind of, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the first time that you get interviews, it's learning the interview process. The second time is typically, the second year of those interviews is typically when you get the job. You're better prepared. You've gotten feedback to how you interviewed with that, that crop of potential vacancies there. It helps you a lot for the next season. So at this point there, I think I'm with Anthony on that. And I think we all, sounds like you are as well, Rob, that I think he would stay. And
I wouldn't say inevitable, but it's a pretty darn good shot.
Inevitable.
I'm inevitable.
I can't snap my fingers.
I'm a dual snapper.
I thought you were going to go all Little John on me again. The second Little John reference.
Yeah.
Snap your fingers. You can do it all by yourself. Like the spoken word version of Little John. I'm not going to rap. You don't want me doing it. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's really not. Anyway, like I said.
Oh, you can do it right
now. Put the headphones back in. Anyway, Yeah, I don't see it happening personally. I don't think that you'll see that as a position that would intrigue him enough to take it like that and take the hit that he would take for leaving the Giants this close to the start of the season. Because there would be in some circles, and I think there wouldn't be in other circles, but you don't want to start limiting yourself. It wouldn't be a disgrace like Josh McDaniels a couple of years ago with the Colts. It wouldn't be like that kind of scenario, but there'd still be some people who would frown upon it.
Yeah, and the only way I see him really going over there, they offer buku bucks because, like you said before, you get one opportunity, you can be fired as the head coach, and then next thing you know, you're trying to get a job back in the NFL, and are you going to get a coordinating job somewhere?
Yeah,
but you left a bad taste, and your prior job's mouth, and you leave on bad terms. You think you're going to get hired back?
Like the Giants ate a durian fruit.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what durian fruit, look it up. It's really stinky, nasty fruit. It's disgusting. It smells like a corpse. Tastes horrible too. I've had it multiple times. Yeah, it really is nasty. It's very big in Asia. When I was in Singapore, I tried it a couple of times because it's a big thing there. So I was like, I got to try it. Let me try it this way. Then say that was bad. Let me try it this way. Maybe it's better this way. No, it was.
Do they prepare it differently? Like, I guess you're not eating it raw.
One was eating it just regular pieces of the fruit. One was in a pudding, and one was in a pastry. Yes, it was
even in the pastry. You would think much sugar you want to dump on there.
Absolutely freaking disgusting. But again, it's a local delicacy. I think it's one of those things that if you're raised with, you kind of like it because it's something like home to you. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's like black licorice.
I don't know.
This is true. Yeah, I went with black licorice right away. You either love it or hate it. But pork roll.
Yeah, if you hated it, that's just we hate you. Anyway, all right, let's get into the latest in the rumors about Mr. Saquon Barkley. Oh yes,
rumor has it.
Little John to Adele. Those two would be good to a song together. That'd be a good duo.
A great couple.
So we got a lot of news that came out here today. It's kind of like Saquon news coming bit by bit, and it's going to keep on telling you guys, it's going to keep on happening that way up until when Monday happens, and either doesn't sign a contract and therefore it's tag or nothing, or he signs a contract. So it started off with Boomer Esiason saying the Saquon deal will get done by Monday, and it could be about $14 million. That's some sources he's hearing are telling him that. What he said word for word was, I believe they'll come up with a deal before Monday. I just feel like he's going to end up exhausting everything and is going to kind of have to take that money. Take the deal the Giants have on the table. I heard it may be possibly up to $14 million. So he said that, and you're seeing it some places, but you're seeing a lot of people take it more of him saying, I think this is going to happen. I have no reason to think it. I just think it. Because everybody else is saying other words, that they're nowhere close to it. This is not going well at all. Diana Rossini of ESPN tweeted that both signs do remain at a stalemate, and Saquon being available week 1 may be a question mark right now for the Giants. I still think that's not going to happen. I think he'll play no matter what. That's just my own personal opinion.
We beat a dead horse with that.
Yeah. ESPN's Dan Graziano suggests twice this week that the Giants sign Ezekiel Elliott, calling it a power move. Yeah, that's not any power at all. I mean, power move like he's a good third down back at this point in his career, I guess. But
yeah,
that's
hey, Cowboys. Look what I got. I got your overpaid running back who was only a third down back last year.
I will only be okay with it if he doesn't wear belly shirt jerseys, because that just looks weird. I've never understood that look.
Only Michael Strahan have that big of a gap on this.
But yeah, I mean, I
don't
have
a gap off.
Now, if the Giants signed Dalvin Cook and told Saquon to go pound sand, that would be a power move. I wouldn't agree with it, but I could sit there and say that's a power move. Signing a washed-up Ezekiel Elliott, who maybe got 1 or 2 more years best before he's probably, on a network somewhere talking about Cowboys football, that's no longer a power move. 2-3 years ago, that was a power move. It's not a power move anymore. The last one is ML football, which is one of the bigger generic football accounts on Twitter. If you follow them, unfollow them. They're horrible. They give you all kinds of bogus information. He said that he was offered $13 million per year, including $26 million the first two. Saquon himself retweeted it with the blue hat emoji. Now, for anybody who's unaware of what the blue hat emoji is, I Googled it myself to verify it because I'm old. It means cap. And for those who don't know what cap is, I didn't have to Google that one. I knew that one. They mean crap. It's bogus. So Saquon himself said that was a lie. I do not think that Saquon is going to lie about what's going on. I don't think he's sitting back saying, "We retweet to say it's a lie," even though it's true. It makes me look better. Like that's not Saquon. Saquon doesn't have that kind of personality. I think personally.
I think he would just ignored it.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's done most of it. I got Connor chime in. What's up, Connor, man? Says,
Connor.
I wouldn't pay any more than $12 million. Listen, here's my whole thing. 12 million, 13 million, 1 million is not going to make or break the situation. And if you got to pay him $1 more million per year to make him happy, to keep the happiness of the locker room overall, $1 million is not going to make or break this, guys.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. We're going to pay him more than we want to. We probably are. That's, and if we don't, that means he's staying on the tag. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the Giants prefer that. I think the Giants want to make it look like, hey, we tried everything we could to sign him to a long-term deal. Unfortunately, we had to settle on the tag.
We'll find out on Monday.
They overpaid. Let's be honest. And I don't hate the contract because of the way the breakdown is, but they overpaid for Daniel Jones, so they could tag Saquon. Let's look at it like that because that's the truth. They overpaid Daniel Jones so they could tag Saquon because most teams would have tagged Daniel Jones for 1 year to see what you had in him going forward still. See if he improved that second year with the same offense.
Yeah, but if you try to clear up the cap space, who's going to hit the cap on your
They could have done it. They could have figured it out. I'm not worried about that part. I really am not. I think they could have figured it out very easily. I think that they purposely, personally, I think that they overpaid Daniel Jones to avoid overpaying for the running back because the way it's set up, they can get rid of Daniel Jones. We talked about this before after 2 years. And if you get rid of him after 2 years, you need him, even hypothetically, Daniel Jones bombs this year. You can still use him as a trade chip after this year. You can still use him as a guy to go ahead and be a backup quarterback or mentor the next guy at that point there the following season. So you're not going to get hurt by having him on 2 years. Like I said, that's just my own personal opinion there. So let's see. We got a couple more comments here.
Yeah.
Connor says, F that. It's time to stand up to these guys. You're making millions. Stop. Connor, here's the problem, though. If it was you and I, 100%. These are billionaires are taking the money from. It's not like me and you are paying these guys. You got people making billions of dollars here off these players. Let's be honest, off these players. Without the players, there is no NFL. So they should get every single time they should.
That's why they're trying to figure out their.
I mean, but it's not. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Remind me, what's the size of the cap this year?
I gotta look it up, dude. Ask me a question on the top of my head.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
I'm just saying, these guys. Yeah,
$224.8 million.
Okay, I was going to say about $250 million, but not far off.
Yeah.
So you're talking about that kind of money.
Keep in mind, again, these guys don't have a lot of time to make this money. This isn't like a 30, 40-year career they get to have.
Especially at the running back position.
So the average NFL, by the way, makes $177 million US per season. That's the average NFL team. And that's as of 2021. So that's a couple of years off at this point there. So you're still talking, they're probably making more like $250 now. That's probably more like what they're doing, just, inflation and what it is. Now, the average NFL team is worth $4.47 billion. Yeah. You think they deserve some money, the players? You
I mean,
think
when was
they
the last
made
time one
these
was
rich
sold?
guys some money? The last one was the Commanders. Just this
How much is
offseason.
tough for though?
Now you make me look things up like crazy. Here, just give my
I'm
typing
pretty
fingers a
sure it's
workout.
over.
Six
Pretty
point
sure it's like
zero
6.
five.
Yep.
$6.05 billion.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to say it's $4 million, like that's also a little off.
Now, $4 billion is the average value. Keep in mind the Commanders, even though they haven't won anything in decades, it's a huge market and it's a team with a rich history. So they're worth more than, let's say, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Fair enough.
So they're probably one of the more valuable franchises in the NFL, to be honest.
To always mess up the merchandise and still somehow.
That's a whole separate thing. It's because the old owner was a friggin' moron. So we'll have to see. Beef says, I would take a college gig over a pro gig any day. And that's part of the equation there when it comes to Mike Kafka. Does he prefer
money?
Does he prefer pro? Does he prefer just following the money? We'll have to find out. Like I said, it's my own personal feeling there. We'll see. Connor says, and if he wasn't hurt too much, I'd say yes, but he's got to take that LO, the reason why they aren't offering $15 million. But here's the thing, though. You got to think of it this way, guys. We had this conversation, too, with Daniel Jones when we were talking about him with a contract. Up until the deadline, who cares what they say they want? It doesn't matter. All that matters is what they do in the end before the deadline hits.
Correct.
If Saquon wants to sit there and say, I want $20 million, $25 million as running back, I could not care less. All I care about is what he signs for at the end of the day.
Listen, when you walk into a car dealership and you look at the tag on the car, almost no one says, I'll take this car for this value. You always try to bargain to get your best deal.
Wait, you can bargain on cars?
As a car salesman, Drew, shame on you.
I'm not a car salesman. I was years ago.
But, I mean, have you ever walked into a dealership and like, or even if you're buying up selling lawn, oh, I want, $2,500 for this car. I'll give you $2,000. No, I'll take $2,200. There you go.
I don't think Barkey was going to come in to meetings and say, I would like $10 million a year. Like, that's not going to happen, guys. So we can't be upset with him for trying to get as much money as he possibly can, because any of us would do the same exact thing in his shoes. Any of us, especially at the running back position, because they're underpaid for the value they bring. And on top of that, they know this contract could be the last one for him.
Yeah.
You never know with a running back.
Make what you can make.
He's getting now his mid to late 20s at that point. He's going to have, let's say hypothetically, if they sign, let's say a 3-year deal, okay? Let's use that as an example, because that's the number you've seen floated around quite often with Saquon right now. So Saquon's 26 years old. In 3 years, what is he?
29.
How much money do 29-year-old running backs get?
Usually not much because they're on the way out.
Exactly. This is his last payday of his life, potentially. Don't blame the man for trying to get as much money as he can.
I mean,
I'll do it.
Because of his injury history, like he's got a little less tread on the tires. Who knows? Like he could still have a number one spot somewhere in a team that's not so good, or he's going to be, the number one second.
Yeah.
Or you might go to like one of those teams that have, a multiple, like, what you would call it, a wheelhouse of a bunch of guys in back.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, that's what probably is going to happen eventually to the Giants. But in the meantime, we have a stud running back. We're keeping him for at least one more year, and we'll have to see what happens long term there. As Beef says, there is a cap, gentlemen. The money is not there. I don't care how much the owners make. You know how many people they pay, lawyers, doctors, office people. Well, they don't count against the salary cap, the lawyers and doctors, but
but they also bargain for how much you make too. So
they do, and it's a contract they sign as well. What I'm just getting at is, in the end, Saquon Barkley is probably the second most valuable player on our offense, past Daniel Jones. I'll give it to Daniel Jones because he's the quarterback as being the most valuable. You can sit there and say that Darren Waller might even be number 3. But if you're telling me right now you had to cut one player on this team, would you cut Darren Waller or Saquon Barkley?
Waller, it was good while we had you, not being see what you're doing.
Exactly. The only other player on offense that I could sit there and ask that question about is would you cut Andrew Thomas or Saquon Barkley? That's the one question mark. So as I'm thinking about it here, because this wasn't scripted here, obviously, I might say now he's the third because I might take Andrew Thomas over him because of the age and the importance of the position. But I mean, still saying like he is one of the most valuable team members of your team. So you can't blame the guy for wanting to get paid as such. You can't. Beef says you were talking about how much the owners make. That's not what I'm talking about. Oh, I get what you're talking about. I was kidding with as far as the lawyers getting paid and not being part of the cap. Yeah. But I'm just saying, let the people that argue the money. The only time that I think fans need to get too much involved is if Saquon Barkley came out and said, well, McCaffrey's making $16 million, I should make $18 million. Like, that'd be something I'd like, hold the phone here.
Yeah, you shouldn't be throwing out anyone else's paydays.
Yeah, but if he's asking for top dollar at the position he plays, who wouldn't? Only a fool wouldn't. And the Giants have done everything on their end to protect themselves from having to do that. So I got to give them kudos on that because, again, they overpaid for Daniel Jones a little bit. By doing that, they have this option now to not have to overpay for Barkley as well. They made their decision on which one of the two they wanted to overpay for. They had to overpay for one of the two or risk losing one of them. So, like I said, I think we'll have to see what happens over the next couple of days. But I think if Saquon signs a long-term deal, it'll be probably a team-friendly deal. And if he doesn't, you'll keep on hearing, is he going to sit out? Is he going to sit out? Is he going to sit out? And I'm telling you right now, you probably won't see him till week 1. And I'm fine with that. He doesn't need preseason. The man keeps himself in immaculate health.
You see him on Twitter today, yesterday, I think it was. Just doing farmer carries for the deadlift bar.
And he's going to be perfectly healthy. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Why he needs that big shirt.
Saquads.
Yes. Saquads.
All righty. We do have one more topic here as well. And Connor already brought it up for us as well. He said, so do you see that Honey, and he corrected himself because he meant Toney. Did you see that Toney now says he was hacked? He didn't say those things. LOL. Yeah. So Kadarius Toney, who
it was AI. It wasn't me on camera.
Yeah, it was ChatGPT.
Yeah.
We talked about it obviously to a good amount on there on Monday's episode of Kadarius Toney talking trash yet again about the Giants, getting in a fight with Giants content creator Chuck Knox. Since then, we've had multiple people release DMs that he's got a fight with them in DMs. One of them basically is asking for their Addy, which again I had to Google. I'm old. It happens. Addy is apparently address for those who are old like me and don't realize. So basically, he was threatening to come down to their home, and I doubt it was for a cup of tea. Though I don't know how it reacted. Kadarius Toney knocked on my door and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna spot the tea."
You take one, not like 2 sugar. Donk donk.
So again, well, it's ridiculous. It's childish. He also had one Giants Twitter fan there as well that is actually starting a podcast pretty soon. We might have her on the show as well. We talked about it before. But she had negative comments made to her from Kadarius Toney, basically talking about her body and, kind of attempt at body shaming there, which is just never cool. Like, dude, just chill. Then he makes a comment about Saquon. Says, y'all worry about me. Tell Saquon to sign the deal. Like, why would you even bring Saquon Barkley into this mess that you're creating? Then he tells another fan that the Giants miss him, not the reverse, and says DJ calls him all the time. Like, why are you dragging other players into this, Kadarius Toney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made himself a big mess. He's trying to crawl his way out of it.
He did. So then he claims his account was hacked.
Wasn't me.
Then
But they caught you in the DMs? Wasn't me.
he turned off his DMs. You can't DM Kadarius Toney anymore. Not unless you're a verified user who's already been in DMs with him prior.
So
there's no more button there.
I can't send him a picture of my chocolate covered stuff.
Yeah, no, you can't send him any kind of pictures. Actually, you could if we have a verified 2 Giant Goofball account because we have DM'd him in the past.
That's true.
So we just had to get that blue check mark and you can DM him.
You gotta pay $8 for that crap?
Yeah. I think Elon has enough money. We're good. He had enough money before he even started one of his pet projects, thanks to his family. Let's see. You got a couple more comments here. Deb says, I read that Tom Coughlin is a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame 2024. Deb, guess what?
Segue.
Well, we got one more comment about what we're talking about today, but tomorrow, that is going to be our episode because it's not just Tom Coughlin. There's a whole bunch of Giants that are up to be semifinalists for the Hall of Fame. Many of them overdue and should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago. We're still missing some names that I think should be in the Hall of Fame as well, which is funny because I actually was reading a thing on Facebook. They were doing a list of teams with the most teams with the most Hall of Famers, and the Giants were number 4. So imagine if we had the guys that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Maybe that's why they're not.
They don't want to look like they're biased towards us, but they're now biased the other way. Let's see, we got a couple more comments here. So Connor says, still missing the point. We valued you. We offered you X amount of dollars. You said no. We could not pay you, but we still offered you $10 million, and you've been injured. Not our fault. You turned down the offer. Connor, here's the thing with that. We don't know the exact offer, and that's why I'm not going to put him on blast for not taking the offer. On paper, it makes sense. Like, hey, we offered you $13 million a year, supposedly, and you didn't take it. On paper, it makes 100% sense that like you had your chance, you blew it. But without seeing the actual paper that gives you the details, for all we know is like $8 million a year guaranteed and like $5 million incentives and stuff like that. We know nothing.
Yeah, as I'm saying, what if his first year is $6.5 million and he's got to do the rest and just like I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge a contract that I haven't seen details on, and we haven't. All we've seen is what's been leaked, and I'm telling you right now, and I've said it before in the show, and I will continue to say it with no proof whatsoever, so I can just say it's conjecture. But I think the Giants leaked that still because, again, I think the Giants want the tag. They want him on the tag, and they leaked that so they can tell fans we tried. It's not our fault. It's all Saquon's.
Yeah, he just wouldn't budge. I don't know.
We did. We offered him $13 million. He turned it down. I don't know. Like we know no details in that $13 million.
But it afforded $13 million, so $10 million is.
Like I said, it could be. It's $8 million, but you get 250,000 game bonus per game, and then you get another $1 million if you lead the league in rushing yards, and another 500,000 if you get the Pro Bowl. We don't know what these incentives are and everything like that because that's the rumors. They were incentive driven. So without knowing that, guys, it's not fair to attack the man for what you're hearing. That was a leaked rumor that was obviously leaked by the Giants. He says, doubt Giants would offer a crap offer. You have no clue, man. That's the thing. We have no clue because we don't know yet too much on how Joe Schoen operates. This is only his second offseason as a Giants GM, and the only big deals we've seen him do towards, are Sexy Dexy, who basically took the same deal that was already offered to Payne out of the Commanders, which was a top-end deal. So, yeah, he got offered a top-end deal. He took the top-end deal. So, if Saquon got offered it, he probably would too. And Daniel Jones at that point. Well, like I said, we will have to see what's going on there. Another comment there. Been Neffel0911, which I believe is Mark. Mark, is that you? Correct me if I'm wrong. He said, what up, guys? Long time no hear. What's up, man?
What up?
What up? As Connor also says,
Da,
what
da.
up to him too. So we got a lot of what up here. What's that? What up?
Da.
Now we're definitely showing her age. See that in the Little John. About Toney, Connor also says, if he wasn't guilty, he'd come on your show, but he didn't. See? We called him out. We offered him. Actually, that was a DM. I sent him a DM specifically offering him the chance to come on the show in case he didn't actually listen to the show, because I'm sure with everything going on, he's probably being tagged nonstop right now. So I put giving you the chance to come on the show to share your grievances with Giant fans. We rooted hard for you, man, to only have you trash talk about us almost a year after you were traded. No response. But I think what happened is, I think his agent or someone within the Chiefs probably took his phone. I really think somebody had to sit down with this man and was like, dude, this is making national headlines. This is a bad move. This is a really bad move.
It's terrible.
Stop what you're doing. Also, Mark confirms it is Mark, by the way. He said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was. Yeah, we haven't seen Mark in here. Wow. Good to have you back, man. So,
Miss you, buddy.
So again, guys, we'll have to see what happens with Saquon. But again, everything is rumors, everything conjecture, everything is people releasing things on purpose to make the other side look bad. Toney is just a moron. We know that by now. He is a moron. He will be a moron. Moron is a moron too, you know. And like I said, with the Jarrad Davis, we'll have to see what's happening with him and see what long-term means. It's hard to have much of an opinion on what we're going to do with that linebacker position until we know what long-term means.
Yeah. 6 to 9 weeks or 6 to 9 months, there's a big difference. Both are long-term.
Huge. And like I said, with Mike Kafka, we'll have to just kind of wait and see. But because of the fact that you've only heard him listed as a candidate to replace Pat Fitzgerald, you haven't heard anything from him as far as whether he would even do an interview. We'll have to see what happens. You know, I mean, he wants to be a head coach, so here's a chance to be a head coach. So, you know, he might be interested in that kind of offer. But he might want to stick to the pro level and say, you know what? I don't want to deal with having to keep on recruiting. That's a full-time job, guys. Recruiting itself is a full-time job. So we'll have to see what he wants overall. And only one man knows what he wants. And that's the man himself, Mike Kafka. So we'll have to keep an eye on that situation and see what happens. But I think that in the end, we've talked about it before, that if, let's say, there's an issue overall with losing Mike Kafka, then you're going to have Shea Tierney probably as your new offensive coordinator, the current QB coach. Probably. And it's a guy who still has history with Brian Dable over in Buffalo as well, knows the offense very well. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't be better suited with Mike Kafka, because I definitely think Mike Kafka is the better coordinator right now. But it wouldn't be a massive drop. And it'd be a guy that was here last year, so he knows the team, he knows the players. He's not, you know, stepping into. Yeah, he's been around the world back from Bombay. Oh yes, gonna little Red Hot Chili Peppers in there too. Oh yes. Alrighty, guys. So again, we'll be back on tomorrow night, guys. Again, we're gonna be going over with you guys all the different semi-finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. And I'll say this as well, because I think this is going to be a question that some people are potentially thinking if they haven't looked, to see when that is going to be. And the question is Eli Manning eligible? Next year, he's eligible for the first time. So he won't be on the list. But hopefully next year, first ballot Hall of Famer wouldn't be a bad thing. Guy won 2 Super Bowls. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Just saying.
Just saying.
By the way, also, we talked about the age of Joe Shane earlier. Shea Tierney, our quarterback coach, is only 36 years old. I'm 4 years older than our quarterback coach. Tom Brady is 1 decade older than our quarterback coach. Just saying. Alrighty, guys. Well, I said let's get everything rolling there for tomorrow night. There, As always, guys, we appreciate you listening in. Appreciate taking the opportunity to listen to what we have to say there and taking the time out to listen to two goofballs talking about the New York Football Giants here. As always, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn
Drew's
profile.
LinkedIn.
Oh, yes. Rob loves my LinkedIn profile. So we got another comment here from Mark. I'm gonna pause our ending here because Mark asked a question. He hasn't been on a while. I want to answer his question. He said, so sorry if you already answered this. I believe it's Beaver's position to lose now. So Lince, I think it means since Jarrad is out. I think I think definitely Darian Beavers would be the guy, unless they bring somebody else from the outside that would probably have the leg up in the position. But it all depends on how healthy he is.
I mean, I was about to say, you talk about leg up in position. We'll see how his knees holding up.
Yeah.
How healthy he is coming in. But I do assume that his young guy and that ACL happened, the second week in preseason? That
he should be fine.
Yeah. Coming in, he may miss some of the training camp or do light training camp, but he should be fine.
Yeah, he should be fine. Exactly. All right, guys. Again, besides the place we just listed before that we are live on, you can, of course, watch us afterwards on those spots as well if you're not able to listen live. We are live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, we do pop on if something big happens in Giants land there. So, obviously, if Saquon Barkley signs all of a sudden out of the blue, we will be on live to talk about it that exact night there. No matter what we're doing, okay, we have to cancel bridge or shuffleboard or other activities.
Okay, I'm in a shuffleboard league.
I know you were in a shuffleboard. That's why I added shuffleboard into it. Like I said, we'll be on to talk all about it there, guys. And of course, we're on every single podcast platform known to man: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and all the fun ones there. Usually on about an hour or two after the live show is done there. So again, appreciate you guys listening in today. We will see you all tomorrow night. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Men!
Go G-Men!
Go G-Men!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?